Hi there, I'm Mel Ciavucco. I'm a trainee counsellor and I'm a writer. So I've written things before about elitism and class in counselling and psychotherapy. And I've also written mostly about body image and eating disorders and weight stigma. So like quite a lot of people, I came into this through my own experiences. So just to tell you a little bit about that, when I was about 8 years old, I think that was when I first knew that my body was wrong. And it was because a medical professional told me that my BMI was too high and that I would need to lose weight. And it threw me into some very dramatic thoughts. And then it gave me many, many years of body hatred and lots of dieting and lots of difficulties with food, which has taken a lot of time and a lot of counselling to get on track. So for me, it's really important for me to be able to help other people in doing the same kind of thing, but on a wider scale and an activism level. I just want to really raise awareness of eating disorders being way more complex and way more widespread than we think they are, especially for people in larger bodies. Unfortunately, for many fat people with eating disorders, they will be overlooked because our society sort of prizes a thin ideal, tells us that thin is healthy and fat is not. And it means that a lot of the time when fat people are having these kind of problems, they're actually just being prescribed weight loss instead. So it's keeping people in these really difficult situations, making the problem worse. And also with our government's obesity strategies, it's leading to the same problem as well. There's a big focus on shame, making people who are in larger bodies feel ashamed of themselves. And then because of that are making choices which are really not actually very healthy choices, or certainly not very good for their mental health. So I think it's really important as counsellors and as a trainee counsellor myself that we look at relationships with our foods and with our bodies. And I don't feel like that's really been done. In my training so far, we've barely talked about eating problems. Any of the eating disorder training that I have done, I've worked in eating disorders for about 4 years for eating disorder charities. And so I've done various bits of training and webinars, and they're all sort of quite basic. But I did do some training with the National Centre for Eating Disorders and Bernie Wright, which was really good because they focus on bringing eating disorders and obesity together. And the thing that really ties them together a lot of the time is weight stigma. There is a lot of weight stigma and fat phobia in eating disorder treatment from my experience, or in eating disorder charities or people working in the industry. I've heard of sort of things being said like, don't worry, we won't let you get fat, to people who have eating disorders. So we're really colluding with this idea of like, there's an eating disorder, but actually it's got nothing to do with all the fat phobia and weight stigma in the world. Like, of course it has. People do get eating disorders when they don't have problems with weight or body image, but a lot of the time, if we could really tackle weight stigma, we would help a lot of people who are in larger bodies and have difficulties with food. And our eating disorder treatment system would get a lot better. At the moment, we're actually just treating people who are very, very sick. It's very reactionary. None of this is good enough. We're failing so many people in minority groups, so many people in larger bodies, so many people who just don't realize that they have an eating disorder because dieting is just so normalized in our society. So I think it's really important for counselors to be really aware of this and to work on our own relationships with food, because otherwise, how will we know how we relate to fat people or how we relate to ourselves if we haven't sort of unpicked those messages? In the same way that we may look at our own privilege in terms of race or culture, we can do the same with weight stigma and weight biases as well. And so I think that's needed a lot more in counselling training. We need to be talking about power and privilege and difference and diversity. That's really awful. It just makes it like another othering thing. But you know, these are really, really important things that we need to be doing in training. And so far, in my experience, that's not really been covered. So just to share a quick story of something that I've done recently. So in Therapy Today, there's been quite a long-standing advert for Cambridge Diet, well, to be a Cambridge Diet ambassador. The advert was sort of like, hey, counsellors, come and be a Cambridge Diet ambassador because that will go really well with your counselling work. And I was like, no. It's inappropriate, it's unethical, it's potentially harmful. So there was me and Bernie Wright, National Centre for Eating Disorders, loads of other people tirelessly campaigning, writing letters to try and tackle the BACP on this. They're the ones who make Therapy Today. So I kind of received a copy and paste response from the BACP saying, actually, we don't really think there's a problem. And then I sent a letter to Therapy Today, who very surprisingly said, we'd like to publish your letter. And I was like, really? And so they published the letter in the same edition as to the diet adverts. They published them both together with my letters saying exactly why the diet advert shouldn't be there. On quite a selfish note, that did lead to quite a good thing for me, because I then pitched an article to them, and I will have an article coming which is about eating disorders, obesity and class. That should be in like the June or July issue, I think. I was really glad that the letter got published, even if the diet advert was there, and then lo and behold, it disappeared. So in the last few editions, it has not been there. I don't think for any reasons, this was just me, I think that Bernie and the National Centre for Eating Disorders were doing a lot of work on that. So between us, it's gone, which is wonderful news. But I have a feeling that it's not because the BACP or Therapy Today decided not to run it. I have a feeling it's because the person decided to pull it themselves, probably because of the bad press, maybe because they haven't got enough business from it. That's a good thing. But I really would have liked to have seen the BAC put out a statement or say something that actually we realise why this isn't okay, because then it would show a real dedication to be able to making these kind of bigger changes in the future. So thank you so much for listening to all of this. I write a blog, it's called The Compassionate Feminist. So if you want to read some of my stuff, you can find it. I've got a Facebook page of the same name as well. So thanks very much. And thank you so much for this awesome event. It's exactly what we need at this time. So thanks so much. Bye.